In red fishing, like everything else, some things are fact and some things are fiction. For example, redfish can be caught 365 days a year. Yes, there are places where young fish will migrate. However, most juvenile redfish stay inside the same couple of mile radius on a daily basis. I learned this while tagging reds in the late 80s with the Department of Natural Resources and the Coastal Conservation Association's director, Ted Forsgren. So in the course of a day's fishing, you should be able to find some redfish. However, you must have the ability to cover the entire water column, whether it be artificials or live bait. Since redfish spend most of their lives in 1 to 6 feet of water, spend most of your time at these depths. You may have noticed that we didn't spend much time on tides or moons or the weather. That's because I go fishing anytime I can, and I'll average 10 to 12 hours per day on the water, believing that in the course of a day, I should be able to find some reds willing to take my presentation. For those of you that will be fishing in high traffic, clear water areas, try and fish during the weekdays if at all possible. Otherwise, you're going to have the most trouble being successful. Unfortunately, because these areas are tough, especially with artificials. And make sure you have a cast net with you at all times and have a plan B if you need to acquire live bait and you're unable to buy it anywhere. Whether it's anchoring, poling, drifting, or using your trolling motor that gives you the most enjoyment while chasing redfish, practice that style until you get good at it, and then learn another style. You'll have to work at it depending on where you live, and you may want to hire a guide to show you around. They can save you a lot of trial and error and money in your own backyard when you're getting first started. No matter what style or approach you take to red fishing, remember to make it fun, and please practice catch and release. I would also encourage everyone watching this DVD to join and support the CCA. This is the group that spearheaded the gill net ban in the early 90s on redfish that has led to the strong comeback of this species. Also, the organizations that oversee how clean our waters are. Without clean water, nothing else really matters. Having enjoyed every type of red fishing you can do, I'd like to share my favorite method of catching them. Every spring and every fall from St. Augustine to North Carolina, the new moon, the full moon, and the occasional nor'easter will call redfish to areas that are only accessible at these times, and maybe only a dozen times each year. These are the islands and the flats that dot the intercoastal waterway, and when Mother Nature floods these areas, the reds know it's happening, and as the tide creeps onto the flats, they stage, and as soon as it gets deep enough, they start swimming, cruising, and gorging themselves on fiddler crabs. The bottom is hard where they're feeding, so you can wade or pole a boat to within casting distance. These fish are so ready to eat that they can be caught on virtually anything. Casting accuracy is very important here, for shallow water fish spook quite easily when you make an errant cast. So always try to lead a fish with your cast and bring the bait toward the head. My personal favorite lures and baits for this are fiddler crab imitating flies, white saltwater assassin plastics, or a live finger mullet or live shrimp with no weight added. This is a type of red fishing that everyone can do, and as far as finding the fish, all I do is drive around about an hour to an hour and a half before the scheduled high tide, and I look for obvious signs such as splashes, cruising fish, or the black flag of a tail waving at you for you to come closer. This type of fishing is an absolute blast. Look forward to every flood tide Mother Nature gives us.